Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq presides over the meeting of the main committee of the National Program for Financial Balance and hails the initiatives by the bodies concerned to develop the social protection system. His Majesty the Sultan gives his royal directives to all government officials to follow up the living conditions of the citizens in a way that would ensure decent standards of living in this generous nation. His Majesty gives his royal directives to study and address the conditions of the companies affected by the current economic challenges and propose solutions to overcome those challenges. And several initiatives are included in the announced social protection package. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq presided over the meeting of the main committee of the National Program for Financial Balance this morning at Al Baraka Palace. His Majesty commenced the meeting by reviewing the financial and economic developments the country is witnessing as a reflection of the efforts made in implementing the programs and initiatives in the medium-term fiscal balance plan 2020-2024. His Majesty expressed his satisfaction with the governmental measures taken in this regard. His Majesty gave his royal directives to all government officials to follow up the living conditions of the citizens in a way that would ensure decent standards of living in this generous nation, stressing that a decent living for the Omani individual at present and in the future is an utmost goal for all government work in various sectors. All government officials must take the necessary measures to mitigate the impact of the citizens' living conditions at this stage, which is witnessing various challenges, for most of which is the coronavirus pandemic and the many negative effects it has caused, especially at the economic and social levels. And in light of the endless care that His Majesty the Sultan devoted to the social aspects of citizens and in translation of the national priorities of Oman's 2040 vision, His Majesty approved the initiatives put forward by the concerned authorities as part of the development of the social protection system. The meeting was attended by the members of the main committee of the National Programs for Financial Balance, the head of the Special Office, the Minister of Economy, the Minister of Social Development, in addition to the representatives of the program team. The package of social protection initiatives include First, enhancing the amount of support provided to the programs of the Ministry of Social Development related to handling insolvent cases. Second, exempting all citizens whose monthly income is less than 350 riyals from the debts of the soft housing loan program at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning. Third, exempting all citizens benefiting from Senate and former Mawrid Rizq programs from outstanding payments. Fourth, the Oman Development Bank provides financial facilities without interest and fees for self-employed workers and includes sales and mobile services, home-based businesses, taxi owners licensed to work in hotels and airports, women's businesses, workers in the field of fishing, in accordance with the principles that will be announced by the bank. Fifth, the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Authority will launch an urgent financing program for entrepreneurs holding Riyada card in accordance with the regulations that the authority will announce. Sixth, extending the period of disbursement of the job security benefit for applications that fulfill the established conditions and permitting acceptance of late applications for the specified period until the end of this year, 2021. Seventh, expanding the list of basic food commodities that are subject to value-added tax at a rate of 0% from 93 commodities to 488 food commodities. Eighth, the government bears the cost of the value-added tax imposed on the electricity and water services for all citizens who own 2 accounts or less than the residential category. This includes families that have been previously targeted with government support for the 2 services. Ninth, increasing the amount of subsidized and consumed fuel by national support card holders from 200 liters to 400 liters per month, and the government bears the cost of the value-added tax for that amount so that it will remain at the same subsidized price of 180 paisa per liter. His Majesty the Sultan directed the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion in association with the relevant government bodies to study and address the conditions of companies affected by the current economic challenges with the aim of finding adequate solutions to overcome these difficulties. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a cable of thanks from His Highness Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Emir of the State of Kuwait, in reply to a cable of condolences sent by His Majesty the Sultan on the death of Sheikh Nouriya Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Mubarak Al-Subah. Sultanate of Oman focuses on a number of control tools to realize Oman Vision 2040. The auditing process is extended to a variety of sectors to ensure the successful implementation of development plans. Accountability has become the main pillar of the state by taking action against any wrongdoing that impacts public money or government performance. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has made it clear in his speech that accountability is the insurance for fulfilling the vision goals. The State Audit Institution takes from time to time action against violating individuals and institutions. The violations include abuse of power, misappropriation of public money, embezzlement, forgery, and other infractions. Public prosecution has also been active in protecting the state's funds and interests. In 2020 alone, prosecution has managed to retrieve over 24 million Omani riyals for the state's treasury. A spokesman for the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, said that a decision by the U.S. administration to resume its assistance of the agency is a very important and positive decision. Adnan Abu Hasna said that the decision reflects the return of the partnership and relationship between UNRWA and the United States of America. He said the United States of America has always been the biggest supporter of UNRWA since its inception and until today. The Biden administration on Wednesday announced a resumption of U.S. assistance to the Palestinians, including to the UN agency that deals with Palestinian refugees, nearly all of which had been eliminated under former U.S. President Donald Trump. The State Department said it would provide a total of $235 million to projects in the West Bank and Gaza, as well as to the UNRWA. The administration had previously announced $15 million for the Palestinians to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said today they had not received an official response from the United States regarding the Open Skies Treaty that Russia is in the process of withdrawing from. The treaty between the US and Russia had allowed each country over flight rights to inspect military facilities. Lavrov was speaking to reporters in Nur-Sultan after talks with his Kazakh counterpart and Kazakh's Deputy Prime Minister Mukhtar Tlelo-Berdi. Russia said in January that it will withdraw from the international treaty allowing surveillance flights over military facilities after the US exit from the pact, compounding the challenges faced by the Biden administration. Kyoto University Hospital today announced that the hospital has successfully transplanted lung tissue from a living person to a COVID-19 patient. The hospital said it's the first lung transplant on a patient with a COVID-19 lung problem in Japan and the world. A professor at Kyoto University Hospital during a news conference today said that until now they did not have an option to transplant lungs. It is the new treatment option which will give hope to patients. Royal Oman Police launched the Unified Security Border Posts and the accomplishing of electronic visa, as well as activating online service of civil ID, passport application and renewal in the Governorate of Al-Buraimi. This marks a new beginning in different border posts, which go in line with the future vision of all border posts in the Sultanate. The launching ceremony was presided over by His Excellency Lieutenant General Hassan bin Mohsen Al-Shriqi, Inspector General of Police and Customs. The Royal Oman Police adopted high-tech security and surveillance system and inspection devices that keep pace with technological breakthroughs in the fields of promoting safe customs inspection, in addition to assuring the facilitation of entry of people through all borders, customs clearance procedures supporting tourism, which will attract tourists to visit the Sultanate. ROP continues to work on enhancing security and performance through the unified security system to manage air, land and maritime border posts. The system will be operating through smart surveillance devices, identifying vehicles and people before their arrival at checkpoints. Such system will enable smooth registry of travelers, which is also connected to traffic and customs database to ensure there is no security restrictions against travelers while they enter or exit the Sultanate. These devices will strengthen customs control automatically without human involvement, as well as technical activation of security control equipment. His Excellency the Inspector General of Police and Customs also launched the electronic visa, aiming to facilitate the obtaining of visa such as tourist visa, investors visa, research and innovation visa and other visas through electronic websites. He also activated the online service for civil ID and passports application and renewal, therefore to provide full range of online services for citizens and residents. The service will allow the applicants to apply and collect their documents from any police centers. Sohar Port and Sohar Free Zone launched the regional lab to monitor communicable diseases and epidemics in North Batna Governorate. The lab was developed as an initiative between government institutions and 6 companies operating in the port. The lab will extend its services not only to North Batna region, but also to neighboring governorates of Dahira, Buraimi, South Batna and Musandam. The lab is expected to reduce the time needed to release the results from 2 weeks to 3 days. The launching ceremony was held under the auspices of His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi. The Ministry of Health announced that 1,320 new cases of COVID-19 have been registered in the Sultanate, bringing the total number to 168,005 cases. The total number of deaths reached 1,747. The total recovered cases reached 149,696, which is 89.2% of the total recovery rate. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients reached 652, among which 204 are in intensive care units. Rear Admiral Saif bin Nasser Al-Rahbi, Commander of Royal Navy of Oman, received Brigadier General Abdul Munib, Commander of the Mixed Duty Force 151, and his accompanying delegation. During the meeting, the two sides exchanged viewpoints on a number of topics related to maritime fields, with common concern and means of enhancing cooperation between the two sides. Commander of the Mixed Duty Force 151 visited the Maritime Security Center, in which he was briefed on the roles and tasks of the center, represented in managing and commanding maritime security operations against maritime risks, in addition to search and rescue operations. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq presides over the meeting of the main committee of the National Programme for Financial Balance and hails the initiatives by the bodies concerned to develop the social protection system. His Majesty the Sultan gives his royal directives to all government officials to follow up the living conditions of the citizens in a way that would ensure decent standards of living in this generous nation. His Majesty gives his royal directives to study and address the conditions of the companies affected by the current economic challenges and propose solutions to overcome these challenges. And several initiatives are included in the announced social protection package. And with the end of tonight's news bulletin, we would like to remind you once again to keep following the precautionary measures of wearing face masks, washing hands, and keeping physical distance from each other. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night and stay safe.